Hey folks, CA Rachna Ranade here, and I welcome you all to a very interesting video which is about Tamil Nadu Mercantile Bank IPO. After a long time, I'm going to do a one take without any cuts, non-stop, maybe a 10 to 12 minutes IPO review video. So this is going to be super interesting, information packed video. So keep on watching the video till the end. Okay, we are going to divide this video into 3 or 4 major parts. The first thing, we are going to understand what is the business model of the company. We are going to do a simple analysis about the financials about the company. We are going to try and understand the positives and negatives about the company, and the most important part, am I going to apply for this IPO or not? Everything going to be covered in ideally the next 10 to 12 minutes, right? Chalo, so let's get started. First and foremost, what does the company do? It's, as the name suggests, it's a bank, no doubt about that, but it has a history of almost 100 years, and it was incorporated as Nadar Bank Limited in 1921 and renamed as Tamil Nadu Mercantile Bank in 1962. Again, as the name suggests, it's headquartered in Tamil Nadu, Thuthukudi in Tamil Nadu. Vanakkam. Okay. And then one important point is Tamil Nadu is the fourth largest state of India, and it is one of the fastest growing states with continued focus on MSME and textile. Now, why does this hold relevance in this IPO, that Tamil Nadu is continuing its focus on MSME and textile industry? You will understand this in the next slide. What is that? What are the services offered by this bank? And primarily in the RHP, they have mentioned that we offer RAM services, which are, one is retail lending, second agri lending, and the third is MSME lending. Now you have understood the relevance of this specific point, right? So now that you understand that, okay, three key highlights: retail, agri, and MSME lending. Now let's understand how much strong presence does the bank have. Majorly, the presence is in the state of Tamil Nadu only, with 369 branches and 949 ATMs, 255 cash recycler machines as at 31/3/2022. It of course has a pan India basis presence, bank having so much number of branches, 509 branches. But most important point which I thought I should highlight is that almost 70% of its branches are in rural and semi urban areas. Now, why is this important? See, if I'm saying that their focus is on agri, if their focus is on MSME, then ideally shouldn't they be having a lot of branches in rural and MSME, and in rural and suburban areas? Absolutely yes. And that is the reason why I think this holds importance, that yes, they are going in line with their vision, right? Now, going ahead about industry analysis, that how is the overall banking sector placed in India as compared to other countries in the world? So which ratio are we going to discuss in this ratio is of the domestic bank credit to the private sector. In simple words, how much loans are being given to the private sector as a percentage to GDP. Okay, now if you see here, India loans to GDP, okay, loans to private sector as a GDP, that's only 55%. And if you were to compare this with a developed country like USA, that's 217%. So can I say again there's a lot of headroom left for the loan growth for the entire industry? Answer is again obviously yes, right? One more important point here, you can see that acha, loan growth is there, agreed, but how much is the share of private sector banks in lending these loans? So for that, you can see here, in the financial year, in the fiscal 2015, out of the total loans disbursed, out 71% share was of public banks. So if I were to just simplify this, let us say 100 rupees loans were disbursed. Out of that, 71 rupee loans were disbursed by whom? By public banks. But now in fiscal year 22, public sector bank loans, I mean loans which have been disbursed by public sector banks are only 58%. Can I say that this indirectly means that lending by private sector banks is slowly and steadily increasing, right? Is that a positive point for this bank also? Yes, I hope. Industry level, key points are clear, right? With that, let's move ahead with the listed peers of Tamil Nadu Mercantile Bank. Can I compare this with HDFC, Axis? No, all these are very big banks. Even if they are from private sector, they're very big banks. So as per the RHP, these are the 9 banks which have been mentioned as their peers. I'm just going to quickly read out their names: City Union Bank, CSB, DCB, Federal, Karur Vysya, Karnataka Bank, RBL, and South Indian Bank Limited. So if you want, you can also take a screenshot wherever you feel this is an important information for you. Now, what I have done is that I have now tried to drill down into the financials, wherein I'm not going to compare the financials of this specific bank with itself, but I'm also going to compare this with its peers. Okay, so this is a very important chart that I'm going to show, wherein we are going to discuss finances based on 12 banking parameters, right? Which 12 banking parameters? All these banking parameters we are going to quickly go through one by one. CASA ratio. What is CASA? Current account saving account ratio. Simple to be remembered in mind. Higher the better. Okay. Increasing trend from FY 2020 is what we have observed through the RHP data. I'm not going to go into the numbers. पहले इतना था, अब इतना है. Important क्या है? It is an increasing trend. But if I were to rank the CASA ratio with its peers, out of 9, it is rank number 8 as compared to the peers. So is the ranking pretty low for CASA? Answer is yes. Okay. How about the deposits? Increased at a CAGR of 10.46% from 2020 to 2022. But again, ranking is at what? 7%. Advances CAGR 9.93, again ranking at 7%. Advances to deposit ratio is again very important one. Why? Again, understand how whatever advances they are giving as a percentage of whatever deposits they are getting. So let us say they are getting 100 rupees deposits. If they are able to disburse maximum amount as a loan, is their profitability going to be higher? Yes. So again, what is the logic? Higher the better. What is the ratio for them? It is 74.5%, and here the ranking is still at 3. That's a good one, right? Profit margin, highest profit margin among its peers. That is why I've given rank number 1, and it is at 17.65%. Net interest margin is also an increasing trend, ranking 3 out of 9 peers. Excuse me. This is a shortcoming of not taking cuts in between. Now we don't have an editor, right? It's a one take. Next one is cost to income ratio. It stands at 42.14%, and again second as compared to 9. Gross NPA, net NPA. One of my team members who was today explaining this to me, he said Ganpa and Nanpa, and I was like, what Ganpa Nanpa? So this is a new term that I've come across. Gross NPA is called as Ganpa. Okay. That is lowest at 1.69%. So rank number 1. And net NPA stands at 0.95%, which is rank number 2. Okay. Provision coverage ratio, it is 7.92. Again, higher the better. Revenue is also increasing at a CAGR of almost 8%, 7. EPS, it's standing at 57.67, again at point number 1. Okay. So let's move ahead with all these important points. Again, if you don't know the meaning of all these, if you're not sure about what does gross NPA mean, what does net NPA mean, if you're not really sure about all these parameters, then ideally you should go to my website rachanaranade.com. And which one is your go to course? In that case, it should be company analysis, because in this specific course, not only I've talked about how to analyze all these points, ratios, various ratios, but I've talked about specific case studies as well. And here you can see one case study in the banking sector. So there is a different way to analyze banks, and I've explained all these terms in absolute detail, right? One or two more positives of the bank other than the financials is that Mr. KV Ramamurthy, who is the MD and CEO of the company, has a big experience, 40 years of experience in the banking industry. He has also worked with large banks such as United Bank of India for a long duration. And one important point is that, of course, this point we have not discussed till now about what are the legal proceedings, any disputes. We are going to discuss that immediately in the in another minute. But healthy profit has been maintained by the bank. If you remember, healthy profit ke liye, profit margin was the highest. Remember that. So be it profit margin, be it overall net interest margins, they have maintained their financials at a great level, right? But then why am I saying despite the disputes and legal proceedings? And this is what is about the negatives of the bank. I want your maximum attention here, because I felt that there are a little additional cause of concerns as compared to other IPO reviews that I've done in the recent past, right? Contingent liabilities. Here you can see contingent liabilities are 87,976 millions. Okay, but these contingent liability, this amount is more than the net worth of the company. Is that something that worries me? Obviously is. And how much is the net worth of the company? It's around 53,000 million, and 87,000 is the contingent liability. So something that worries me for sure, right? Second negative point, 37.73% of the paid up capital is are subject to outstanding legal proceedings, and which are pending at various forums. Like, I mean, there are certain cases which are there as far as the paid up equity capital is concerned. Now, to be honest, I tried to search a lot in the RHP also. I tried to see whether the management has given any interviews to any media houses through which I can understand that what are these proceedings all about? What are the legal cases all about? But I didn't see any convincing answer there. But it's just said that 37.73% is of the total equity capital is subject to legal proceedings. In addition to that, there are also certain proceedings which are initiated by the RBI Directorate of Enforcement. Plus there are certain penalties which are imposed on the bank. So that, I mean, I was not comfortable reading all these points specifically here which are mentioned on the screen right now. Of course, total here I have mentioned 37.73, but in the table in the RHP you'll see 39.07. I've just deducted this percentage 1.34, which is about IEPF, that is the Investor Education and Protection Fund. Currently, third negative is that currently bank has no chairman, and they had sought for the approval of Mr. Balakrishnan Prabhakaran. Everything, again, you can see everything whatever I'm telling right now in the RHP. They had sought his approval as a chairman, but RBI declined to provide such approval, and the board of directors of the bank does not presently have a chairman. So still, let us see when the bank gets a new chairman. But again, a bank coming up with an IPO with no chairman, with so many legal proceedings, with such a heavy contingent liability, again, a little bit problematic scenario, right? Plus, it is mentioned in their RHP that the former director has filed a writ petition before the High Court of Madras seeking to prevent the bank from undertaking the offer. So uh, it's as good as don't come up with this IPO, is what is a complaint which has been filed before the High Court of Madras. And these are the points that we need to know before you take a final decision for applying for the IPO, right? So all in all, what did we discuss right now? Number one, we talked about the overall understanding of the business. Then we talked about the industry, financial. Still here, I was definitely comfortable. Even when me and my team we were going through the IPO details, still we were on financials. We were like, "Arey, not bad, yaar." But when we started digging into the other details, then we were like, "Arey, something is taking me to a little bit of discomfort." I went from the comfort zone to a little bit of discomfort zone for sure, right? How about the valuation? Valuation is at 9.10 ka PE multiple as compared to the industry PE multiple of 11.85. Definitely, it's lower as compared to the industry standard, but lower than industry PE. But now you know the reason also as to why it may be at a little bit of discount. All these are minor details, right? IPO issues from 5th September to 7th September. It's a total fresh issue. Again, one more point I saw in the prospectus. Earlier, they were going to come up with the OF, and then now they are saying that they are going to come up with a total fresh issue. Why? Again, I was not able to find that a very concrete answer in the RHP. So again, there are some points which, again, as I mentioned, I'm got me a little bit into the discomfort zone, right? Price band 500 to 525. Lot sizes 28 shares. So these are the lots that you can see. Now we have HNI ka two categories: small HNI, big HNI. Small HNI is a person who is applying between 2 lakhs to 10 lakhs, and above 10 lakhs will be the big HNI category. Objects of the offer: normal tier 1 capital base requirements के लिए they are mainly raising the money through the IPO. बाकी is normal expense to meet the expenses related to the offer and all the, so basic points, other not so much important points. And with this we come to the grand finale question: is will I apply or not? To be really honest, as I mentioned, just to sum up, financials satisfied, pretty much satisfied. But the other negatives, be it the contingent liability, be it other points where the share capital itself, there are certain proceedings going on, be it bank currently having no chairman, be it something like OFS coming now as a fresh issue, other minor points, something like a qualitative analysis as well. It's getting me little bit into a discomfort zone, so my inclination is more towards not applying for the IPO. Still, if I change my mind, I will just update it in the community tab post of our channel. So if I change my mind, looking at the overall market scenario, looking at the subscription status of this IPO, then I will update in the community tab post. But otherwise, as of now, I feel I'm not going to apply for this IPO. I'll give it a pass. And I feel that there are many more banking stocks which are currently available in the secondary market at a much better price. I hope you have gotten an entire analysis of this bank's IPO, and I hope you enjoyed this small one take back to back. क्या बोलूं अभी मजा आ रहा है after a long time I did such a thing. So thanks a lot for watching. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye bye.